Everybody, thank you very much. Once again, another episode, Renostate Rocks. And man, I'm unbelievably excited. Those that really know me, the person knows that the Teaparty is one of my favorite all-time bands, including the likes of Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace. This particular guest is one of my all-time favorite drummers. And I'm not saying that because he's on the podcast. That is actually true. You've probably already guessed who it is, but I'm doing the intro anyway. Our incredible guest today began his love of the sticks at the age of 11, not knowing that at the time he would spend the majority of his life with his school buddies, or that he continued to have the most incredible hair in the business. Graduating from his Ludwig Motown kit in the Detroit gig Vavoom, he informed the Teaparty around 1990, and this Windsor-based trio quickly embraced and gained a fast following, especially after their debut at the Coach and Horses. Iconic. Splendorsolis built their foundation. The Edges of Twilight solidified them into a top Canadian rock act, eventually selling 3 million albums, having 3 gold album certifications, 1 platinum, and an incredible 4 double platinum awards. I believe that's correct. You can correct me if I'm wrong. This particular member maintains his roots and sense of community with an incredible array of charity and special events in the Windsor area. From the iconic Horseshoe Tavern to Big Bucks in Burlington to Sarstock, they've played all types of shows, big and small, including being primary support for the likes of Ozzy Osbourne, Def Leppard, Jason Bonham, and as in the midst of just about every awesome Canadian band you can think of. Few bands are busier than these guys, embarking on Australian tour in June, just before returning to Canada to open for Motley Crue. We're blessed to have one of the busiest hands in the business, the original and steadfast rhythm man from the Teaparty. Please welcome to the show, Canada's own darling and gorgeously haired person. I'm jealous, Jeff Burrows.
Man, I hope I live up to all this. Ironically, I literally, I was speaking earlier when I was speaking to my manager and with Stuart on a quick conference call, and I was coming back from my haircut.
Yeah, there you go.
You were listening.
But no one can ever tell I get it cut. My wife's like, "Oh, it looks great. Like, did you get it cut?"
Your hair's just always. Do you wake up like that? For those at home, he has gorgeous hair.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. Yeah, and I don't have hair, so it's you know.
No, I knew I'd miss my hair one day, but what can you do?
That's a blessing. I would count it. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, just shave this fucking hair.
much easier to maintain no hair, but it looks it's so worth it, man. I miss my locks.
Yeah.
So Jeff, thanks again for joining us. We do appreciate your time.
Thanks,
First thing I want to ask you is if you don't mind elaborating on your 18th annual 24-hour drum marathon event for charity. What can you tell us about that? And how can we donate?
Yeah, so it started 18 years ago. It actually started when the band was on hiatus for 5 years-ish. And I was in radio at the time. I did radio for 7 years. Even when the band got back together, I held on to that for a bit. And it was just, the only thing I was seeing charity wise at that time was the pasta dinners and bingos and so on, which is amazing in their own right. But I thought, here I've got this local radio platform, and I've got a modicum amount of success to my name and a modicum amount of celebrity to my name and locally. And I thought, why don't I do something I love to do and raise money to do it? And I came up with this brilliant idea when I was 37, 38 that I should play drums for 24 hours. And it worked out really well, and it's gone well. The first 10 years, I raised money mostly for refurbishing rooms for patients who have cancer to make those rooms more palatable, almost like a bedroom, and then also to take care of when family members would visit. So if a husband or wife were in hospital, their spouse, instead of sleeping in a chair, that chair literally turned into a bed. It's those types of rooms. And then kitchens that were modified. Yeah. And then modifying kitchens for family members when they're coming to visit, so they don't have to roll in with a bunch of Tim Hortons or something. They could make their bagels there. They could have a coffee there. It was great. So I did that, and they're very good friends of mine. That's called Transition to Betterness. You can look up t2b.ca, and that's an amazing organization to donate to. And I still work heavily with them. And then 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, because we had a year off on one of the COVID years, I just saw what was happening with mental health, and I saw the cuts that were happening provincially. And So I made that pivot, and this is going to be the eighth year of the mental health fundraising, and I try to cover as many aspects of that as I can, from um, uh, adults with mental disabilities, Canadian Mental Health Association, which is anyone of any age. There's a House of Sovereignty, which helps women dealing with issues. So it's very broad based, and it's sort of all over the place. And I like that. It's not one. I divide the money by six at the end. And the way it works is like it used to be I'd show up at midnight and I would play until midnight the following night. We wised up a little bit, so we've cut it in half. And now I do a Friday and a Saturday, noon till midnight, and then noon till midnight, so that I could get 2 evenings out of it and try to raise more funds.
Right.
And I was going to try to change the name and say, well, it's really 24, but I don't care. I mean, everyone gets it. And essentially it's every hour or every 2 hours. It changes by either a solo artist or a duo, and sometimes even bands. And so they'll go from noon until about 12:55, 12:56, and then that particular duo will be done. And then the next in line is ready to go. They come in, I run off as they're setting off, and go pee and grab a water or whatever. And that's how we do it throughout the whole night. And we have auctions and raffles, and I solicit sponsors. I've had one gentleman, a lawyer, who's been with me all 18 years, and he donates $1,500 a year, and that's pretty amazing for me. And lately, Long and McQuaid National steps up and sponsors me with money and sponsors me with gifts for the musicians. So it's the more you get into it, the longer or the better, I suppose, it runs its course. But after 20, so there's this year and then 2 more years after, then that will be it for the drum marathon. But then not quite sure. I've got a couple ideas. They're going to be big, and they're going to take up as much time. It's not the 24 hours of playing that's hard, really. It affects you a little bit mentally, but it's fine. It's literally the months leading up. I start in January, and we normally have it in May. So, but it'd be nice to chill on that for a year,
Give it a break. Yeah, focus on your tea party. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome, though. I mean, you've changed a lot of lives, I imagine, with all your hard work.
You meet so many really cool people and like-minded people and people who want to help, and help in other ways. So then I'll get invited to help people raise money for this sort of campaign or that campaign. And I mean, all of the charitable campaigns are worthwhile. It's just sometimes, and I understand where people are coming from, they have to pick and choose because there's so much out there, and there's so many people that need so much help. So
definitely, yeah, charity breeds charity, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So in 2020, you said, and I quote, "Without neilpeart, I would have never picked up the drumsticks." And this goes for at least a million other drummers out there. He made us better. He broke rules. He created the unimaginable. Now, I know this was in response to his passing. Someone idolizing musician as large and influential as he was. What was that feeling like when the Tea Party eventually signed with the same management company as Rush? And what was it then like to actually record with Lifeson and Lee for the Trailer Park Boys soundtrack? And I mean, with he being alive at the time, and it was like, hey, neilpeart's not available. Hey, where's Jeff Burrows? Let's get that guy. It's like, whoa, I'm second in line.
No, that was a bit of a favor pull, and I appreciated it. But so when we did sign, we had just left our previous management, and we were actually looking for management. And the likes of Susan Silver came up, and then a couple others in LA. But I liked the idea of staying in Canada, excuse me, but I really wanted that international foray. And that was part of the difficult thing in Canada, right? And God bless, we've got some amazing managers, but Jake Gold was busy with the hip, and all the West Coast managers were busy with Sarah McLaughlin and that whole network scene. And so what had happened was Ray Daniels, who's day to day and all things management for Rush, he had brought in a new young gun who was 4 years older than us by the name of Steve Hoffman. And
Right.
Steve Hoffman came from New York, and he had worked with Extreme. Who are the girls from the Mamas and Papas? I always forget. Wilson Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the girl band, pop band,
Van
great singers.
Van Halen too, I think.
Oh yeah, I think Van Halen came after we were there. Yeah, they did.
Well, of
'Cause,
course, yeah. Well, I mean,
um,
when the Tea Party signs with the company, if Van Halen hears about that and goes, "Okay, that's the
everybody
company.
thought
That's the company
everybody
we need to be with."
follows.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. um, so it was Steve that had found us. He came to see us play a show at St. Andrew's Hall in Detroit, which is still one of my favorite 1,200 seater sort of venues. And he brought it back to Ray and said, "This has got to happen. I've got the next, Canadian trio that's gonna do well." And so that came to fruition, and it was really, really amazing. And unfortunately, Steve ended up passing away about 10 years after we met him. Great guy, died of lung cancer. We remain close to his parents and his brother Robbie, who I'm actually going to go see play tomorrow night in Windsor at the Coliseum.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, that was fantastic, and we stuck around because after Steve passed away, because there was a bit of a lull because no one knew what to do, and we could still function and so on. But then Andy Curran of Coney Hatch fame stepped in because, believe it or not, Ray actually wanted Andy to work for SRO even before Steve, our manager, was put into place, and Andy still had a lot of musician juice in him, as they say. So Andy was always like, no, 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 no. But then once Steve passed, and Andy's performance and writing career slowed a touch, even though he's busier than ever now. He took over, and we had a great relationship. And now Andy's a dear friend of mine, and he's actually in a band with Alex Envy of None now. So
Right, right. Yeah.
that's pretty cool. So yeah,
And
we
Coney
had
Hatch just did the big tour in Europe as well. So
that's the thing, yeah,
yeah,
and I love to see that. I mean, most Canadian musicians can't just wear, the band hat. You need to diversify, and you need to
right.
be able to, pay the bills. And I get to a point now where, any money that we do make is that's my retirement, and it's always going to be now. So, which is good. Because you don't live a life of a musician in Canada with a benefits plan and a pension and so on and so forth. And I'm a firm believer in unions. So I really embrace this sort of idea of musician and community relations person and
Yeah,
contract person and so on and so
yeah.
forth. And the same, and Jeff does that with his solo stuff, and Stuart does that with his video game
Right, right.
music, which he just kills. So everybody's got their thing, and well, I don't know how I veered into that, but anyway, back to SRO.
The
I haven't done
mystery
many
of
interviews lately.
it's no, it's the mystery of the Thursday. It's fine. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
And then so once Rush had sort of finished, that was Ray's cue to retire
yeah,
and to
yeah.
close down SRO. I mean, I know Cynthia, Ray's assistant, still works day to day with Stephen Page, and there may be a couple other speakers that they represent, but it's not, a touring and so on facility. That's where that ended up. And then COVID hit, which is fine. But we have a great manager now, Liam Colleen. And
Shout out to Liam.
yeah, shout out to Liam.
Mhm.
He's in Australia right now doing some work for Simple Plan. But anyway,
Oh wow.
No.
I digress. And then the SARS thing, that was pretty incredible. That was an opportunity, and we took it in. Like
Absolutely.
I bathed in it. We all hopped on the train at Union in Toronto with the likes of Jim Belushi and all of these actors and actresses and Rush and Sam Roberts. And I ended up meeting one of my best friends who's one of the highest up at Via Rail. And then from there, everybody hopped in limos, and then we got backstage, and you see these little people walking around with funky clothes on, and that's the Rolling Stones. It's
Unbelievable. Cool. It's surreal,
yeah,
eh?
Very cool. Yeah. I was at that show.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, one of the things that I did, that was literally one of the first forays into, that's the second time I've said foray.
Foray.
But
wait till it's the fourth time.
Yeah, I know. I won't say it again. Fourth A. When I was there, I thought, what a great way to meet some of my heroes than to go in and tell them I'd like, if they wouldn't mind, to collect the drumsticks from the show that day and have the band sign them. And I was going to take them back to Windsor and auction them for T2B, that transition to betterness, like I spoke of earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And it was insane. Like, we made thousands and thousands of dollars.
Unbelievable.
The charity got some well-known, or some great publicity from the Toronto Star and the Sun and the Globe and Mail. Yeah. And it just kind of elevated it, and they just thought it was great, because you do this post-show media scrum after, and there is a photo online where we're laughing, and because we were laughing, it was like, what was it like to play in front of, at that point when we played, it was 390,000, not quite 5 yet, and we were replying things to the effect of, well, we've now played in front of more people at one time than the Rolling Stones ever have, and we can always keep that in our pocket, because they hadn't been on yet, right?
Yeah. So, timing is everything. Fun. Are there any sticks from that maybe didn't make it to the charity?
No,
like a Charlie Watts kind of, no, that one's gonna go in the drawer.
The Charlie, the Neil, and the Phil Rudd, was it Phil playing that day? All went.
That would have, that would have been Phil Rudd.
Phil was back. Because I didn't end up seeing them, but I did get their sticks, and they were signed. And by the time AC/DC was on, Jeff, Stewart, and I were literally underneath of this soundboard scaffolding, sitting on this little bench with our arms up like this, just in amazement, watching this all happen and transpire.
I have these.
Yeah, you got a couple neilpeart sticks.
I do, nice. and these are his that he did actually play with.
So, here, hang on, I'll grab something. I got a ton of stuff, but
I'll take it. No.
This is one of where are we? This is one of 100 Starman skins, and I also own 3 of Neil's snare drums that are still, they're all signed on the skins. They're still in the box, sealed. I've got the R30 commemorative snare, the R40 commemorative snare, and the snare that they made out of the logs, or the log in the bottom of a lake in Russia. So I've got those 3, and a Getty bass still in the box signed, and an Alex guitar still in the box.
I got something better. I have a Jeff Burrows autograph.
I can see that
on the only guitar it exists on. So.
That's at least that's over 15 years old. That's right.
Yes, that would be 22 years old, 24 years old. Sorry, maybe 25 years old. So that
my
was
signature. Yeah, my signature is a little more slanted now. I'm like,
is it? Yeah,
we're upright there.
Yeah,
it's just faster.
Well,
it's just faster.
Well, I don't have any Rush memorabilia, but my best friend growing up,
Segway.
On Duggan Avenue, he lived directly next door to neilpeart for a number of years. And I remember around the time Tom Sawyer came out, he told me this story that he was walking down the street at Yonge and St. Clair, and somebody came up to him and said, "Oh my God, you're neilpeart." He's like, "No, I'm not." And he just kept walking, because he told me my name is pronounced Peart. It's not Pert.
It's neilpeart. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I'm a St. Catharines kid, and Neil's a Port Dalhousie person. So yeah, we're Niagara region people. So yeah.
I went to school with his daughter. Yeah. Anyways, transitioning here, Jeff. Thanks so much again. What was it like growing up in LaSalle? Like your childhood memories, your childhood home. How would you describe it to people who've never been to LaSalle?
Absolutely amazing. It's a tiny little town on the water. When Jeff Stewart and I were growing up, LaSalle was a town of 5,000 max. Jeff was on the very outskirts of LaSalle. Stewart was actually in what is called the township of Sandwich West. Um, so, but we didn't
Delicious.
meet Stewart. We didn't meet Stewart until high school. But I mean, growing up there, all my brother and sister and I all took piano. We all knew my dad was a drummer when he was younger, and he's a cop. I played all the baseball, all the hockey.
Typical
Uh,
Canadian kind of things to
oh
do.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I played against the likes of Ty Domi for 6 years, and I played went to hockey camp and power skating with uh, some of the guys that play in the Red Wings. Not Darren, but Bob Probert,
Oh,
Oh,
and
Probert.
wow.
yeah, just it was a small town, but it was very, very hockey. It was very athletic, very French. So Jeff and I were in French school when we were kids. Um, and yeah, it was amazing. You can go anywhere in the town, off the streets, just ride your bike down next to the train tracks, and I'd be 2 streets over, and you go a little bit more, and I'd be at Jeff Martin's house in 12 minutes on my bike as a
Yeah.
kid. So it was great.
Wow.
Oh,
So you and Jeff Martin go back to childhood.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We actually met when we were he was probably 7, I was probably 8, and then we had our first band. He was 10, I was 11,
Oh, wow.
wow.
and
When you just
yeah.
started. Yeah.
Hang on a second, I'll show you something else. Not many people get to see this one. Uh, so
So this will be
this,
tough for all of those on Spotify, but
We'll
Je-
explain
yeah.
it
Jeff,
nicely.
Jeff's
Oh, I'm
providing me
sorry.
a
Oh,
visual and nerding
this
me
isn't
out. So
this isn't audio. This isn't video for anyone.
it's both. It's both. Yeah, but who
Oh,
cares?
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so the two in the middle are Jeff and I, right
So there's
there.
a black and white picture with suspects right over top, and this will be a
Yeah,
childhood picture of Jeff
yeah,
Martin, Jeff Burrows, and who are the other two
and
chaps?
You guys look
another
like
Jeff.
ruffians
So
to me.
yeah, we're Jeff, and then Dave. So
The other Dave.
yeah, we were D in the three J's at one point
D
because
in the three J, D in the triple J. Yeah,
yeah, the triple J's. But
or triple
yeah,
Jade.
yeah.
Triple Jade. See,
Mark
marketing that works, right?
Martin will be pissed that I shared that photo, but yeah, whatever.
Well, if we ever get him on, I will not mention.
Yeah, don't mention
Yeah,
it.
I won't mention it. So, what was that pull to Windsor like? That keeps kind of that place though, like in your heart for now, because there's so many people that grew up in a little area, but then
Mm.
popularity or professional requirements live in different places. But you kind of more stayed there, and a lot of your charity is down there as well. So,
Yeah, I I come from the school, like I love to travel. Both my wife and I love to travel. We've been together since high school. But
congratulations.
I love a small hometown. I love visiting the biggest cities in the world. I love enjoying great wine from around the world, great foods, different cultures, different everything, sights, sounds, everything. But for me, coming home and um, I don't know, it's just the familiarity of it all, I guess, there's something about having a place at home. Not that I'm not going to have a second and third home when I retire, but I definitely will have probably this home. I like this house. It's not huge. It's big enough. There's 4 beds, 4 baths, and but it's just one main floor and then this kind of sort of party room. You're sitting on my bar right now,
Oh,
and
fantastic. Right.
there's like 8 drum kits back there and a foosball and a pool table and my wine cellar, and it's perfect. So this is
It's the
kind of like my
toys. Yeah.
it's kind
Yeah.
of my escape from my wife, but don't tell her that.
Yeah. So, what was the very first home you purchased as a professional musician?
First home I purchased as a pro
Yeah.
would have been in a tiny little town between LaSalle and Amherstburg called River Canard, in French Rivière au Canard. And it's literally a big church and behind the church used to be fields, but it was a subdivision that was probably 20 years old by the time we moved there. And my wife and I were pregnant for our first son, and we had to get out of our apartment. So he turns, you know what? I probably moved there. What is he now? He's going to be 29. 20. We moved there 28 years ago, almost to the day, to be honest. And so we went from there. Then we moved on to a golf course, did the big house. I'm cool. I'm in a rock band thing. And then got over that.
Like in the same area? Yeah.
Yeah, literally one town over. I've always been literally within 10, 15 kilometers, but now I'm back in the heart and I love it. And, you know, and I'll always be here. So it was just great. The first house I lived in as a child was on Victory Street. So that's the last name of my porn star name is Victory.
Jeff Victory. Yeah, gotcha.
No, Chi-Chi, your first pet's name.
Chi-Chi Victory. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was.
So I lived there until I was 4, but then we moved literally down the road and my dad bought this lot and he built a house. So my dad, he was a cop, police officer, but he's also amazing with his hands and built homes and cabinetry and now he refurbishes drums in his retired ages and stuff.
Wow. Great.
So it's pretty cool. So he built that house that we all essentially grew up in, where the bands first started. His dad, Jeff Martin's dad, and my dad actually started a very popular band in this area when we were in grade 6 and 7, when we started our band first. And they went on to have like 5 years of just extreme bar band success, making loads of dough. And I'm like, I should be getting a cut of this, man.
That's back in the day when you could do that. Like I remember even in when I was in university in St. Catharines and I was working at, you know, like bars like Big Bucks in St. Catharines and Burlington. And I was friends with lots of bands that did nothing but play in bars. And that was a living. Like, I mean, it was you rocked it out like 3 to 4 nights a week and you made coin, like you did, right?
Oh yeah. When pre-teaparty, but many bands, because there were so many what's the word I'm looking for? Like there were so many members in and out of this band while we were going through high school and early university and whatnot. And at one point, Jeff and I had a duo and we're big fans of blues. And we just called ourselves B&M Blues because we didn't know what to call ourselves. And Jeff would play guitar and sing. And my left hi-hat foot, I had some Moog pedals and I'd play all the bass parts while playing drums.
Okay, yeah.
And that became quite popular. And this was my first year university, on a weekend, I'd make 600 cash.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like, if you're in a bar band now, you won't make 600 cash in 2 nights at all.
No, you won't. No.
It's just bizarre. And now everybody's lucky if they make $100 in bar bands. And I mean, I feel for my brothers and sisters out there that do that, because they do it just because they love it. Obviously, no one's getting rich playing any bar anymore, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, back in the day, it was pretty cool to see. You know, my dad, they'd get on these festivals, and then we are, you know, 10 and 11, 12 and 13 playing on these festivals with all these adults smoking and drinking and having a good time.
Oh, those were the days, you know.
Good old
that's
days.
when cancer didn't exist, right?
That's
you
right.
could just smoke and drink and you're invincible. It was fine, right?
That's right.
So do you remember what that buying process was like back then? Like, was it out when you bought your first, you know, pro home? Was like, obviously I would assume it was with an agent, but you know, it was any advice you've got for first time home buyers, because you're now on your 3rd property, right?
3rd, 4th.
So 4th.
Well, always obviously get it checked. Get a professional to check your home over.
Have a home inspection. Yeah.
Home inspection is number 1. Number 2, avoid bringing family unless they're electricians or plumbers, because they will just tell you exactly what is wrong with it, or why are you living so far away. Check for basements. I've had 2 flooding issues with 2 of my homes, and that was the first thing I checked. Is there's nothing worse than having a flooded home.
Yeah.
and with the basements, and it's quite common around here. So that's the first thing I check. And then really, I mean, it's upkeep, and always, make sure you've got great windows, Pella, make sure you've got great appliances, make sure you know how to fix easy things. I'm useless with a hammer, but my dad has taught me enough to make sure I know how to fix, the little things. I always leave the big things for the professionals. That's what they're there for. That's how they get paid. I don't mind doing that. But yeah, there's some great things in buying a home. It's difficult now. All of my boys are in their 20s now. They're all trying to save. They've all gotten their investments in the first time home buyers as well, and they've maxed those out, much like you can with TFSAs. So, buying a home, it should be a great experience. Don't try to buy a home if you know you're going to be mortgaged to death, because there's no fun in it. Home ownership is a hard thing to do, and home renovations are part of the home ownership. And you make sure your roof is inspected, because if within 5 years you got to have that roof replaced, put it in the offer that you want. You need that roof replaced, or you're going to tack on another 75, $8,000 for me to replace this roof. So
you definitely have to have contingencies. And you're right, a lot of first time buyers don't think of that stuff. Right?
No, I know.
It's such an emotional process. They're just focused on everything else.
And that's it. And everybody, and guilty as charged, you fall in love with the home that you really want. Yeah. I mean, you see yourself cooking dinners with your wife and sharing a bottle of wine, or you see yourself cutting your lawn and trimming the hedges around the pool or whatever you have, and sipping on a beer, and you see all of that. The romance of it is so alluring, but you got to put on your pragmatic hat and think to yourself. And a lot of people don't. And I sort of didn't, but I sort of did, because my dad had built houses, and he was a good inspector for me, as well as the professional inspector. So
that's great.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
So Jeff Burrows' famous advice: protect yourself.
Always protect yourself. Protect.
We will agree with that.
We will agree with that. As real estate agents, we will agree with that.
So
always negotiate with your real estate agent. Get those points down. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. They're worth every penny. Your professional real estate agent is worth every penny.
So I got a question for you, and it's an honest question, and we ask everybody, and we've had varying answers. Is your house haunted?
No, I don't believe in any of that.
No. Okay, there you go.
There you go. That was entertaining.
I don't have time for people who believe in ghosts. I'm sorry. Have you guys watched those ghost stories?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Other than Ghostbusters, I'm not a fan.
When has anyone ever seen a ghost? Like, they show up with these electro blah 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 magnetometers and whatnot. No one's ever seen a ghost.
I'm a guilty pleasure of mine used to be to watch these ghost hunters and all that.
But you never saw one, though.
No, there are people that believe that they saw one, and on camera they will convince themselves that what is recorded is a ghost. However, has anybody actually seen one? I don't think so. I don't.
Stop it.
It's
like Santa Claus, man. This is no one under the age of eight.
No, we're good.
Right?
We're good.
No.
Seriously, it's just.
Oh my God! What are you gonna do? You're gonna ruin the tooth fairy now? Jesus!
But you'd be amazed at some of the answers. It's a
thing actually.
Well, I think Jeff Martin may be a ghost believer, so save that.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
we're gonna save that one. Can you put in a good word for us, Trent? He's a little bit in Australia, but I got to pull my sister lived there, so but we'll try. So, aside from the haunted rooms in your house, what is your favorite room in your house?
Well, the older I get, the more I realize never get a shitty mattress. Always get the best mattress. I mean, my bedroom is definitely not my favorite room. It's a great room. I love it. It's big enough. Again, as you get a little bit older, you learn to appreciate the fact that you want a walk-in closet. You'd like, double vanity. You'd like all of the little extras you can get. My favorite room is probably this room because here's the bar. There's a big screen TV in the very back. I don't know if you can see it behind the pool table.
Pool table,
So
drum kits.
we have the nice sectional. So that's kind of where we do our football games, hockey games, baseball games with all the boys, and then all the drum kits and a double bath, and it's got everything for me. My wife hates it down here.
What that means, it's perfect.
It's a nice means of escape. It's good, and it's kind of like where, if I need to come down here and I've had a day and I need a sip of whiskey, or if I need a glass of wine, it's the perfect room. And it's nice and cold. It's always cool down here. It could be dead of summer. Yes. It's going to be 62 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 or 16 Celsius, right? So I love it.
There you go. And how long have you been in this current house?
This is probably closing in on 9 years, and we'll probably keep this house. We're up to now. There's a beautiful pool in the back, and it's the stamped concrete. And now I'm removing the shed that is there, and it'll be a nice shed / bar, outdoor bar.
Beauty,
with the fireplace table and so on. So, and that's pretty much done, other than the fact that we're removing the stones in and around the landscape area. And I think we're going to redo that ourselves and just put some grass. And we have a small dog, so we don't need a ton of grass.
Yeah.
And my whole backyard is pretty much gardens and pool with that cement around it.
Beauty.
So I love it, and a lovely patio. So I like it because, and if that's a room, that's considered a room, because the patio is really nice and it's enclosed, and we can have parties of 100 people back there. It's so nice. So
beautiful.
And we do.
Well, what's your do you have a favorite memory of your current house?
Of this house? Oh, honestly, it would have to be either the pool parties, holidays, and the games down here with the boys. The pool parties I especially love because you get a workout in the morning, you hop in the shower, you go outside, you start cracking beers or whatever, and people just start showing up, and
it's just a great day.
I mean, barbecue 2 times, and those are my favorite. The holidays are wonderful because we always have, like, we'll do New Year's here sometimes, and I mean the basement is probably 90 feet long by 60, 70 feet wide, which is this way because it's long
huge.
This way.
Yeah,
it's a very large. It's the entire house footprint, so it's very, very large. So it's great. It's got lots of storage, so we're good.
And so, what's your address, postal code, and no, just kidding.
If you lived in LaSalle, you would know where I live. So
maybe I'm only like 4 hours away. That's fine.
Yeah, it's not far.
Next time we go to Detroit for a show, and if we don't get shot, we'll stop in on the way back.
That's the beauty of living here. I am in 12 minutes. I'm in Detroit.
Yeah,
and I'm in the county. And Detroit now, I'll say it on here, but most people will. Oh, sorry, my phone keeps going off, and I keep sending them away. Most people don't realize how safe Detroit is now.
It's changed.
Downtown. Oh my gosh, it's
the
all
casinos,
the theaters. Yeah, the Motor City Casino, the Greektown Casino, Fox Theater, State Theater, Little Caesars Arena, Comerica Park, Ford Field. It's all there.
Greektown Casino in that area is probably my favorite.
Fox Theater used to be isolated. No, it was sort of in the middle of nothing, and it's been all built around.
Now it's a great big square of a kilometer either way, and all of those things are right in the middle. And the food, and then my favorite thing and my kids' favorite things lately are the jazz bars that both serve food and get great crazy drinks. It's turning. I'm enjoying it more than Chicago lately, so it's great.
Oh, there you go.
Fantastic. Well, so here we are coming to the end, though. Sad to see you go, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Aside from the 24-hour drum marathon for charity, the tour coming up in June, what else do you got? Plug anything you have.
Well, it's Southwestern Ontario, but my next charitable event, I mean, a ton of golf tournaments and such, but I host a bowling event in Chatham, Ontario, because my parents are from Chatham area, Kent County.
Hmm.
So I'm always trying to help that community out, and that goes towards their food bank and so on. And
How
and
many
then
people
next
come out
Christmas,
with jerseys that say "Pin Pals" on them?
we're the Bowling Stones. We got best t-shirts.
Oh,
So
that's a
cool.
good name. That's a great
Great
name.
name. Great
It's a
name.
I wish I
great
thought of
name.
that.
We even make t-shirts completely against the law, but they look
Yeah,
great. So
it's
I
fun.
don't care. And then after that, there's a couple more things. And then I do a big show, Christmas show, at the Coliseum Caesars Windsor. So there's between
Mm.
4,000 and 5,000 people come, and all of that money that gets raised goes to our food bank here and our entire county. So, and last year we raised a record 100 and I'm lying if it's maybe just under 115,000.
Amazing.
So
In one evening.
in one evening, yeah, it's a great big
Wow.
show. It's
Wow.
Wow.
for all the families, and everyone knows to come to that. But if you're out of town and you're watching that, sort of watching this, just look for the Saints. It's usually the Friday before Christmas. So I think this year it's probably about 8 days before Christmas. And it's a great way to kick off the season because it's just, you know,
Yep.
great Christmas songs, songs of hope, etc. That sort of
I
vibe.
think Corey, we've got a Renostate Rocks road trip coming up then.
There you
I think
go.
we're gonna
Oh,
have to play. We're gonna have to throw that in.
it's fun, guys. You would
Yeah,
love it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Well, again,
Very
thank
cool.
you so much for joining us. It's
Yeah,
been an
absolutely.
absolute
It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure. Yeah,
Best for you and
I appreciate it.
everything. And
Yeah,
and
thanks,
we'll
guys.
hopefully we'll chat with you soon.